You will be hated by everyone because of my name, but the one who endures to the end will be delivered. And that, my friend, is how you set an organization up for failure. Let's do this again. A couple weeks back, I put a poll up on Twitter asking what I should cover once I had enough energy to make edited content again. And those of you who voted overwhelmingly for how Jesus screwed the church. So this is what we're covering today. And as you saw in the intro, I'm talking specifically about how how Jesus said that the church would be persecuted, essentially for its entire history. And in doing so, it basically set the church up for failure, or at least gave it the inability to handle its own success, its own. So, a quick disclaimer: for the purposes of this video, I will, on a hypothetical basis, grant the existence of a historically divine Jesus, and even go so far as to hypothetically grant that this historically divine Jesus, being the divine Logos, is somewhat on par and co-equal with Yahweh in terms of the omni traits, in particular omniscience and omnibenevolence. Which is usually a moment when the problem of evil, or euthypro, the euthypro dilemma, is brought up. But in cases like this,
I love those moments. I like to wave at them as they pass by.
But anyways, we have a, nearly omniscient, nearly omnibenevolent, Jesus, who, tells his followers which will eventually become Christianity as we know it in all of its wonderful Baskin-Robbins flavors, that they will be persecuted, and that those who are, and of course in the Beatitudes and a different sermon says, blessed are those who are persecuted for our sake. And this message is only amplified and reasserted by the apostles who wrote the epistles. And we are just going to blanket grant that we're talking, Paul, Peter, and John, because that's where other verse, and some of the letters of Paul in First Peter, we also get you will be persecuted verses, and also in First John. We're just going to, for the sake of this discussion, grant the claim that they were written by the actual apostles that they were named after, which likely wasn't the case, but it does nothing for or against the point I'm making, so I'm just going to grant that. So, you have this message that you will be persecuted. And yes, the church was persecuted. The church is still persecuted in regions where they are the minority faith, but on a large grand scale, as in the entire world, no. See, for at least half its existence, Christianity in one form or another has been the dominant faith in the Western world. In the dominant faith in European and those cultures that have descended from European cultures through colonization. Big, ugly historical can of worms. Might do something about it on Media Musings. Probably won't be able to, might do a stream on it with some of my, historicist friends, get a good panel together or something, because that is a can of worms that I do not want to try and cover in a single video. But here's the thing. In decreeing that, his followers will be persecuted for his sake until, and leaving it as a blanket statement without an expiration date. It's not, you will be persecuted for a time and then you will essentially rule the world, or you will be persecuted for a time until you create governments that are devoted to my teachings, or you will be persecuted until people figure out that persecuting other faiths is not a good idea. It's, you will be persecuted. Those who are persecuted for me will be blessed. So you have this idea that essentially, unless Christians are being persecuted, they are not Christianing right, which leads to extremely obnoxious behavior. One, it leads Christians, it leads sects to become more and more extreme into every, little, like, how can we be against, counterculture when we're the culture? You get more extreme. I very much believe that a big part of this fundamentalist problem is the fact that you get sects that become more and more extreme to differentiate themselves from the culture at large, which is, like I said, in European and, cultures that have descended from European cultures through colonization, dominated by Christianity. And basically, you've got your divine founder who basically says, yeah, you'll be persecuted, then left you holding the ball when that wasn't the case anymore. So, either, and of course, we're not exactly waving at Euthyphro as he passes by, but so either we're saying that, either Jesus isn't as omniscient or is in fact a false prophet for, making a prediction that is patently false, or he doesn't, or this, omniscient, omniscient Jesus is not as benevolent as he claims to be. Because either he is wrong and the church, while being persecuted for a time, stops being persecuted and instead becomes the persecutor in most cases because it is the dominant faith. And of course, you can say that, certain sects of Christianity were persecuted by the Catholic Church, but during things like the Inquisition and the Reformation. But in that case, the other sect of Christianity, the Catholic Church, is still doing the persecuting, is still persecuting other Christians. Of course, in their opinion, they're rightfully punishing heretics and whatnot, which is, its own can of worms that could very well be its own video, about the exclusionary nature of salvation being another problem with Christianity. We'll see how this video, another way how Jesus screwed the church. We'll see how this video does. Maybe it'll turn into a series. Who knows? But, so, either, Jesus is not as omniscient as claimed by those who uphold his divinity. He is a straight up false prophet, or he's just getting a kick out of all these religious schisms from, it's like, yeah, you're going to be persecuted and you're not Christianing right unless you're persecuted. And then he's watching all the snowflakes explode and scream persecution when they get held accountable for their extreme positions and rather extreme actions. So that's it in a nutshell. How Jesus screwed the church by giving them the expectation that they will be rightfully persecuted and thus didn't successfully prepare them for the eventual cultural domination and immense cultural influence that they would hold for over half their history. But anyways, hope you enjoyed the video. It's been a while, but leave a comment, tell me what you thought of my little thought. See if it was any coherent, if it was coherent at all. But comment, subscribe, ring the little bell if you want to get notifications of my streams, before I actually go live. And remember, indoctrination is a hell of a drug. Back in black, I hit the sack. I'll let you know I'm glad to be back, 'cause I'm cut loose from the noose that's kept me hanging around, and I've been looking at the sky 'cause it's getting me high. Forget the hearse 'cause I'll never die. I've got 9 lives, cat's eyes, abusing every one of them and running wild 'cause I'm back.